Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legion's Shadow Orc Grunt Legion Builder. Let's get into it! Let's begin with a look at the packaging. And here we have mythiclegions.com, sourcehorseman.com, storehorseman.com, where you can find all the great products. Here's the Four Horsemen logo that they use with Mythic Legions. On the front, there's a nice huge blister showcasing the figure and one accessory, but you look down in there, you can't really see it on camera, but there's a little baggie of other stuff in there. Mythic Legion's logo right there. And then on this side, he's part of the Legion of Aether. And then on this side, it gives us a little rundown of him. He's the Shadow Orc Grunt Legion Builder, and there's the text blurb if you want to read all that. Please feel free to pause it here and go to town. And then finally on the back, we've got some nice artwork here. And then here's the cross sale, which is always unnamed. But I want to say this is one of the All-Stars. So there's some more text there. If you want to read that, again, please pause it here and go over that. And then you can pause it here and finish that. And then we've got all kinds of small, fine legalese print down here. And again, the websites. Please visit. And it'll do you good to visit there if you're interested in any way, shape, or form on Mythic Legions or Four Horsemen in general. And of course, the packaging is the collector-friendly packaging, which basically means you can open it up, take the figure out, and then put the figure back in it if, for any reason, you needed to do that. That, my friends, completes our look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories. And we'll start off with the accessories. And first up, we have this big macy bladed whatever it is. And it's in, I guess, a bronze color. And that's the plastic that it's cast in. There's no dry brushing or anything like that to kind of help the deco stand out on this part, the wooden part. So, you know, and I think that's indicative of the army builders or legion builders figures. You know, there's not a lot of stuff put into it because I guess they're expecting you to kind of dirty it up or make it your own version. And that holds true for all the weapon accessories here. They're just cast in this single color of plastic with no washes or dry brushes or anything like that. But they do look nice. These are weapons that we have seen in the line before. There's this big old honking sword with the runes in it and all these spiky doodads. So, and then nice detail here in the handles and the pommel. So, cool looking piece. And then here is a belt for storing one of those weapons, I suppose. Not the sword, though. It won't fit through that hoop. And, you know, nice molded details in here. Again, just no washes or dry brushes or anything to help those details stand out. It's just the plastic that it was molded in. So, And again, nothing we haven't seen before in the line. Next up, excuse me again. We'll get the handy dandy tweezers out and we'll take a look at the alternate head. Now you get a little bit more paint and well, at least color on this one. Got some paint for his tusks there. And maybe a little bit of wash on the face. And it's just got nice molded details, nice texture all through it. Here we have one of his shoulder armor pieces, and there's the peg that hooks into the port on his back. It's got a strap, it's got rivets, molded in this kind of gunmetal-y color. So there's that, and there's two of those, a left and a right. Excuse me. Let's take a look at the figure himself. And again, like the alternate head, he's got some tusks here that are painted, but he's got 4 sticking out. This guy's only got 2, and they're bigger. So I don't know, maybe the other head's more alpha going on. Inside the helmet, you don't really see any eyes going on, and that's fine because, you know, it really adds to the creepiness factor of this guy. And, you know, it's got this shiny finish to the armor. The armor has lots of nice molded details in it, textural details. There's the holes for the shoulder armor. Yeah, a little bit of paint here would have been okay in my book. This piece is a separate piece, and it's all molded in this color, but it does have nice details in it and rivety looking pieces. And again, some paints on those rivets would have been okay, but that's not the case for the Legion Builder stuff. But overall, it looks really, really good. And these pieces are separate pieces, these horns. So you could pull it out, and if you had somebody who had like different types of horns or whatever that you wanted to swap in here, you could do that. But a very nice look to this fellow. As far as what he is, you know, he's not beautiful by human standards. By orc standards he might be. So, but anyway, let's take a look at his articulation. He looks up that high, he looks down that far. It's just a standard ball in there. Yeah, just a standard ball in there, so he gets no chicken neck. He does get some waggle though. He can do the full exorcist. This collar piece right here is a separate piece, and it kind of plugs into the back top here, so it is removable if you don't want it on there to give him kind of a different look. At the shoulder, 360 degrees of rotation, and he can raise his arm up that high, which is about 90 degrees. Single hinge and swivel at the elbow, swivels around 360 degrees, and it gives you that much bend, which is not even 90 degrees. The bracer piece here is a separate piece. It can be moved around some, at least I say it can be. And then 360 degrees of rotation at the wrist on an in and out hinge, and then in and out hinge on the other side as well. Half dumbbell or ball joint at the waist. Gives him hula, gives him 360 degrees of rotation. He can lean left and right a little bit. He can lean back that far, not bad, and forward that far. Again, not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. At the hips, he can give you the full splits. The overlays don't really hinder that up anyway. They're thin enough at parts where they get up out of the way. And look at, I forgot to look at the inside of that. Look at that. It's got chainmail molded in some of the places there. So where the leg comes together at the top, there is a swivel right there, and if you maneuver the leg around, you can get it to go 360 degrees. Excuse me. Single hinge and swivel at the knee, swivels around 360 degrees, and it gives you not quite a 90-degree bend. So the foot plugs in and it will do a 360-degree rotation. It will tilt down that far. It will tilt up barely any because this kind of gets in the way. And then it does have a pin for rocker. Now, as far as accessories and stuff goes, you can figure out some of this stuff on your own. As far as the shoulder pauldrons or the shoulder armor, these two ports on his back, that's where they plug in. You know, if you're not familiar with these guys. And this one doesn't want to go in, so I'm going to have to heat it up to get it to do it. But as far as accessory storage, one of the weapons, probably the axe, excuse me, will go in that belt. And you can put it around his shoulder this way. You can put it around his waist, however you want to do it, you know, to make it look the way you want it to do. But that, my friends, is a look at the figure and his accessories. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Shadow Orc Grunt Legion Builder with the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Dark Templar Relic Guard Legion Builder and the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Templar Relic Guard Legion Builder. Here we have the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Shadow Orc Grunt Legion Builder with Harbinger Studios Savage Crucible Nashorn the Disinherited, Boss Fight Studios Epic Hacks Red Sonja, and X-Ray Studios Combatants Fight for Glory Gold Hilder. For our last set of comparisons, here we have the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Shadow Orc Grunt Legion Builder with from the Marvel Legends series, making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee from G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander from Star Wars The Black series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper, and for a 7-inch scale comparison from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final ramblings on the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Shadow Orc Grunt Legion Builder, I have to say, as you progress in collecting Mythic Legions and get more named characters, the Legion builders seem to be lacking a little bit. And it's not the sculpt, they're lacking in the deco. And that's part of what makes a Legion builder is that it's kind of designed for you to make it your own. So if you're accomplished with painting and weathering and that kind of stuff, customizing and period, you know, that's really what these guys are for, other than, you know, building up your armies of shadow orcs or knights or, you know, whatever the case may be that you're trying to build up. So in that sense, this figure is lacking in the deco department. Now the sculpt, it's the same sculpt that they use on named characters and stuff like that. So the sculpt is there. It's just a little bit of the deco is missing on this. And you know, I explained my thought process behind why that is. Now, as far as, is this a starting point for somebody trying to get into Mythic Legions. If you're trying to get everything that the line is really about, then you want to start with a named character, because you get the full experience of what the line is. You get the full deco and stuff like that. And the newer that named figure is, the more of that you're really going to see. With the Legion builders, again, not as much with the deco. So the price is right for a beginner, because they're currently, I think, on Store Horseman as of this recording for $27, I think is what I paid for it. Again, plus, you know, there's a $10 shipping on there. You know, they have flat rate $10 for, you know, most of the stuff in the store. I'm not sure how the Kickstarter, I'm not really sure how that's gonna work. But, you know, the sculpt is there, the army building potential for this guy's here, the customization potential for this figure is there. It's just, is that something you're looking to do? And again, like I said, the price point for this to be a beginner figure is there. You're just not going to get the full experience of Mythic Legions with a Legion builder, as far as, you know, getting everything, because there's no soft goods on this guy. You know, lacking in the paint decos. So paying more for a figure where you get the full experience, yeah, I get that. But I also understand wanting just the basics, and that's what Legion builders are at the core of it. Is they're the basic figure. And I say basic, but you still get all the sculpt, you get, you know, pretty good accessories with it. They're just not as decoed up. But if you're just looking for a guy to fight another guy, this is the guy. You know, he's a bad guy to fight a good guy, or even, you know, he's an orc, so he might fight another bad guy too, looking for meat or whatever. And, you know, the selection of weapons on this, the big sword on that, I find, you know, that seems like a higher up dude's sword more than a soldier's sword. But as far as the mace and the axe go, you know, they look pretty standard. But, you know, I like this guy. It is what it is. He's an enemy. He builds up the enemy ranks for that line. And then the same can be said for, you know, the other factions. You know, there's Legion builders for all those factions. But if you're just looking for a quick, cheap soldier guy, this is it. If you're looking for something to really customize, you know, you take this basic and build it up. And, you know, that's what Legions is about, I suppose, is the fact that, you know, you do have all these parts and pieces now. They are pretty much all mixable and matchable. And, you know, that, I believe, was the core tenet of Mythic Legions when they started it, was that all the parts are swappable. I wish actually more lines would go to something like that. Not that I'm a customizer personally, but for those of you who are customizers, you know, other lines, having mixing and matching of parts within that line would probably help you out a great deal. Well, that does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I'm now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page, or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you were in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help the channel grow, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.